everyone, and welcome to today's tutorial. We are going to walk through how to make a little crossbody messenger bag. Now this sample one is one I made for a toddler, so it fits on my 2-year-old really well. The one we're going to make today is a little bit bigger, the good size for a kid. If you are an adult or wanting to make an adult size one, I would just recommend adding 2 inches on each side of everything we're going to cut. I'm just going 2 inches additional in measurements, and then you should have a good adult size one. So we're just making a very basic, crossbody bag. So what you'll need for today is a sewing machine or a needle and thread, a cutting mat, a square ruler, and a rotary cutter. If you don't have these, you can just use a ruler and scissors and a pencil to draw your dimensions on your fabric and then cut it out with scissors. An iron is recommended. However, if you're doing this without an adult present and you don't want to use an iron, you don't need one. You can do it without an iron, but it is recommended to help fabric lay a little bit more flat. And then you will need at least 2 kinds of fabric. One for the outer part of your bag and one for the inner part of your bag. So you can see on this sample I have blue on the outside and a white Dr. Seuss fabric on the inside. You can have more than one fabric if you want to have a different fabric for your strap, or if you want to add a pocket or a flower or anything else onto this, but you need at least 2 fabrics. So you can either make your bag with batting on the inside or a fusible material on the inside, or with nothing, so it's just fabric to fabric. So if you do want something to insert to give it some cushion, then you will need that material. I'm going to be using batting for today's tutorial because I have some extra batting lying around. But you can also use a fusible or nothing, totally up to you. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut the outside and the inside. So we're going to need 2 pieces of each of our 2 fabrics. And for our kid size, we're going to make them 8 by 11. So this is the fabric I've chosen for my outside. It's a super cute fabric from Riley Blake Designs from the new Pemberley line by Citrus and Mint. So you're going to line it up on your cutting board and then take your ruler and line it up. And feel free to pause the video here and take as much time as you need on this part. You can always come back. Actually, so sorry. I'm going to go from the other side so I can cut with my right hand a little bit easier. So if you're right-handed, you'll want to think about being able to cut on the right side of the ruler. So we're going for 8 by 11, so you have a good rectangle. And then you'll have your 2 pieces, and I actually cut right on the fold, so I'm going to open mine up where my fabric was folded and cut it in half. Obviously, if this doesn't apply to you, don't do it. Okay, so now you should have 2 pieces that are 8 by 11. And then you're going to do that with your interior fabric. So I'm using another one from that same line for the interior. I really like having dark exteriors and lighter interiors. Obviously, your fabric choice is completely unique to you. Again, take as much time as you need to do this. once you have both your interior and your exterior fabric cut, so you have 4 total pieces of fabric that each measure 8 by 11, now you're going to start to put it together. So first, you'll take your outside fabric and you are going to line it up with your batting or fusible. And you'll do that with both pieces of outside fabric. At this point, I would also recommend taking some pins and really pinning it into place so that it lays nice and flat and it doesn't move. You really can't use too many pins. I put my pins in a little bit haphazardly. I don't really have rhyme or reason to how I do it. Some people are very calculated. Well, pin every 2 inches, all facing the same direction. I just try to make sure it feels really nice and connected and like it's not going to move. Okay. You'll want to do that to both pieces. You want some pins closer to the edge, a couple pins in the center, kind of really just making sure the area is covered. You may want to continue to smooth down the fabric as you go. Okay, so once you're pinned, you can either put these 2 pieces together now, or if you want to add any decorative stitching, then go ahead and pause the video and add in your decorative stitching. You can see on my sample that I just added, like I put in a cute stitch on the sewing machine and just did straight lines down. You could do diagonals or squares or just a pinstripe. If you have an embroidery machine and you want to put something embroidered on it, like your initial, you could do that here as well. So if you want to do any decorative stitching, go ahead and pause the video and do your decorative stitching to each of your 2 exterior pieces. And you can do this whether or not you have it attached to batting. If all you have is the fabric, you can still add that decorative stitching. And I'll see you when you come back. Okay, so if you had any decorative stitching that you did, once you've done that, we're going to sew our outer 2 pieces together as well as our inner 2 pieces together. So to sew them both, you will put the right side, which is the outside, against the outside. And if you want to put a few pins in it, just to keep it nice and stable. And when you're laying it all out, you really want to make sure that your edges are lining up so you don't have a crooked purse. Oh, and one thing to think about is if you have a pattern on your fabric that it matters what direction it goes, you'll want to make sure that it's correct both ways. So here I have these little houses, so I want to make sure that my houses are up on both fabrics. So after you get it pinned, then you are going to sew only 3 sides, the right and the left and the bottom. And you just want a 1/4 inch seam to just come in a 1/4 inch and sew right along the edge against the right, the bottom, and the left. And so your top will still be open. And you're going to do that with both. So with the inside pocket, same idea, that the right side of your fabric touches the right side of the other piece. And your edges line up. You pin it together. You don't have to have quite as many pins here as if you did the decorative stitching. But enough that your fabric isn't going to move. And once you've got it pinned, then you go ahead and you sew together the right, bottom, and left sides. So go ahead and pause the video here, sew together your pieces, and then come on back and we're going to do the straps next. Okay, we're back. Once you have sewn your pieces together, you'll want to take all your pins out if you haven't already. So make sure all those pins are out, and then you're going to flip your pocket. Just the inside pocket. So just your inside pocket, you're going to flip it inside out. Leave your outside pocket turned inside out for now. So you flip it inside out. If you want to get those corners, you can get them with a fingernail or with a pencil to really get those corners popped. And then you can just lay that off to the side for the moment. Get your pins out of your outside pocket if you haven't already. And you can lay that off to the side for the moment as well. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the straps. So you're going to take your two fabrics again, and you're going to cut a 2.5 inch strip along the really long part of your fabric. So my fabric is folded in half, but if I unfold it, you'll see I have a really, really long part. That's about 40 to 43 inches. So you're going to cut 2.5 inch strips. Just one 2.5 inch strip from each fabric. So if you are like me and you have a cutting mat that is long enough, then you can just lay it flat on the cutting mat. If your cutting mat is not long enough, or you don't have a ruler that's long enough, then you can fold your fabric in half again. And I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate that. If you fold the more you fold your fabric in half, the more you really want to make sure that outer edge is lining up with all 4 layers. If you're a little concerned about it not lining up and you have plenty of fabric, you can take the ruler that you have and just cut off like a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch just to get a really straight edge with all of the layers. So I just cut off there about a 1/4 inch. And then you'll want to measure your 2.5 inches. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and do that with both fabrics. And you can do the same thing by taking that little edge and then cut your 2.5-inch strip. Once you have cut those strips, one from your inside fabric and one from your outside fabric, you'll put them right side to right side, just like we've been doing, and you're going to sew down the edges 1/4 inch in. So you use a 1/4 inch seam and you'll sew down each edge. Now leave the top and the bottom open so that we can pull it through. So go ahead and pause the video, sew your 2 strips together, and come back and I'll show you a quick trick on how to turn it inside out. Now that you have your strip, we're going to go ahead and turn it inside out, and I'm going to show you a quick way to do that. So if you take a hanger, an old wire hanger, and you unbend the hook, then you're going to take your fabric and you're going to stick the hanger in the middle, and you're going to pull all your fabric down. Scrunch, scrunch, scrunch. Until you see that hook pop out the top. Then you're going to take a safety pin, open it up, and you're going to put it through the fabric and the hole of the hanger. So you can see the fabric and the hole of the hanger are now connected. Close your safety pin up, and then gently at first work to get the fabric over that safety pin and kind of keep pulling down. If you get caught on the safety pin at all, just be gentle and kind of maneuver the fabric around that safety pin until it starts to turn itself inside out. And this might take a couple minutes. It's pretty easy once you get it going, but sometimes to get it going can take a minute or two. Just be patient, be gentle with your fabric so that you don't pull out any of your seams. And once you kind of get it all the way, then your bag strap will be turned inside out, and you can unhook it from the hanger. You can put that off to the side. Excellent. So now what we want to do is we want to press this so it lays nice and flat. So you'll want to go on over to your iron, press it so it lays flat, and then come on back. Okay, so now that we have our strip pressed and it's laying nice and flat, we are going to assemble our bag. So the first thing you want to do is lay the strip nice and flat kind of in front of you in a U shape. And this is going to help us make sure that it isn't going to get twisted when we put it inside our pocket. So we're going to take our outside pocket, which is the outside fabric, and we're going to go ahead and gently, starting with the bottom of that U, put it in our bag. Being careful not to twist the strap. So kind of watch what you're doing so that you get it in there without twisting it. And then once it's in, you want to line up. You want to line up the strap with the edge, that sewn edge of your bag. And you want about 1 inch sticking out. That'll kind of give you a little extra sturdiness with the strap, is to have a 1/2 inch to 1 inch sticking out. And once it's where it should be, then go ahead and pin it in place. so that it won't move on you. And do the same thing with the other strap. Along that edge. And then stick a pin in there. So go ahead, take a second and do that, and then we will put the inside pocket in. Once your strap is in, then we're going to take our inside pocket and we're actually going to flip it inside out, or right side out. So you can pop out those corners with your finger. If you're not getting the nice sharp corner that you want with your finger, you can take an eraser of a pencil. Kind of press it, smooth it out with your hands, and then we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to stick this pocket, this inside pocket, in the outside pocket, lining up the edge of the bag. And really the main concern here is that the edges line up. So if it's not getting all the way down in there because of the strap, that's not a huge deal at this point. You just want to make sure that at least at the top couple of inches, everything is lining up. And once you have things lined up, and that includes not only lined up edge to edge, side edge to side edge, but that the tops line up as well. And once you've got it where the edges are lined up and your top is all lined up, go ahead and stick some pins in around the purse. Don't pin the whole purse or the whole bag together. Just around the top, about an inch down or so. 2 to 3 pins per side should keep things intact. And then you're going to head on over to your sewing machine. And you're going to sew a seam 1/4 inch from the top. So you can put this in around the base of your machine and sew 1/4 inch from the top all the way around, and that's going to, well, not all the way around, I'm so sorry. Sew, but leave about a 3 to 4 inch opening on just one side, and we're going to use that opening to pull the bag so that all the fabric is the right way. So almost all the way around, leave about a 3 inch gap, just enough to stick a couple fingers in and be able to pull fabric out. Go ahead and sew this, pin and sew, take your time, pause the video, and when you come back, we will unravel our purse and get ready for our last step. You've sewn all the way around the top, leaving just a small 3 inch gap. If you haven't taken your pins out already, do so now. And then you're going to gently, just like we did with the strap, we want to be gentle so that we don't rip any more stitches than we need to, but you're going to gently kind of stick your fingers and start to pull the fabric out. And you may start with just the strap. The smaller the bits you can pull out at a time, the less pressure you'll put on that unsewn hole, and the less risk you run of causing the hole to fray or lose its shape, which is going to make it a little more difficult in the next step. Not a huge deal, just a little more difficult. So be gentle, but pull that fabric through. And of course, if it's really stuck or you're not getting the fabric through it all like you need to, you can rip a couple stitches out to give yourself a bigger hole, which will allow the fabric to then come through. And once you get your fabric all the way through, so you can see your outside fabric is pointing out, then you can stick that inside pocket back down in your bag. Punch out those corners either with your finger or with the eraser of a pencil. Kind of shake it out a little bit. Smooth it out. Take the time you need to punch out those corners, and you have yourself a cute bag. We do have one more step. So the last step we're going to do is a decorative stitch right around the top, and that's going to close this hole. So what I would recommend you do is you fold the fabric so that the hole is closed, kind of how the fabric wants to fold naturally, and take your iron and press that nice and closed, and then you're going to do a stitch just 1/4 inch down all the way around the purse, and that will close that hole. Now if you'd rather, you can just do an invisible hand stitch and close that hole, and then you don't have to worry about the stitch all the way around. However, I personally think using the sewing machine and doing a 1/4 inch stitch all the way around is a lot easier. So go ahead, pause the video, press out the top of the bag, and do your stitch all the way around. Now that you have sewn all the way around, you have your crossbody bag all completed. So go out, have a lot of fun. Congratulations on completing your bag, and hopefully I'll see you back again soon for another fun tutorial.